Welcome back to Aging with Power, sponsored by Comfort Keepers in Home Care. I am your host, Myles McNamara, and we are talking all things palliative care with the palliative care program over at Henry Mayo Newhall Hospital with Lisa Ortega, who is the manager of the palliative care program, and Jennifer Desaro, Jennifer, who is the clinical nurse with the program. And before the break, we started to kind of dance around some of the myths and the facts of palliative care and what exactly is palliative care, how it differs from hospice. But on a daily basis, what do you guys see as some of the most prevalent misconceptions and myths regarding the program?
I think they think when palliative care gets involved, that means they're dying. In fact, we've had patients that are like, we don't want them here. That means, we don't want my mom to think that she's passing away. And really, that's not it. We can get involved with a 42-year-old woman who was just diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer and just be there and establish a relationship, get to know her and her family, because ultimately they may be coming back in for symptoms. It may not be because they're dying and they're at the end of their life, but they may be coming back in for side effects of their chemotherapy or side effects of their treatment, and that's something that we can help with. We have a different kind of knowledge of the types of pain that people go through with cancer, with congestive heart failure, things like that, and a lot of people think it just has to do with cancer, and it doesn't. We have, people with end-stage dementia that their families are trying to figure out about feeding tubes and placement and where to go, and kind of our team kind of encompasses all of that and helps them walk through that. So we're not the death squad, as we can be referred to sometimes, but more of support. We have a lot more extra time than, say, a bedside nurse that has, 12 hours worth of work to do and doesn't have 2 seconds to sit down. And just kind of opening those doors of communication with the physicians. Also, you have a patient in the ICU on multiple machines and medications. The heart doctor walks in and says, oh, their heart looks great, but they're hooked up to a breathing machine and a dialysis machine and all of that. So it's just having the time to explain all those things and what they mean and what the outcome of these things may be.
And it sounds like you not only support, but resources as well. I mean, again, people are so overwhelmed when all these things start to happen. They don't know the resources that are right at their fingertips. Correct. A lot of times.
Yeah. We work a lot with our social workers, really good at managing with the case management, discharge planning of, maybe somebody does want to go home on hospice, but they're 85 years old and they're widowed and they have no family and they live in a mobile home. So maybe going home and living alone is not the best place for them.
They need a comfort keeper.
Yeah. So we use the community resources, we use financial planning, we use all these different resources that they don't even know where to go. They don't know how to plan funeral arrangements and things like that. And our chaplain is helpful with those things. So there's cultural, things that come into play that we have to respect everybody's wishes in that realm. So it's just a big network that I think people don't even know what goes on, how it all works out. But we use every resource we can to get them what they need. But I think it starts with getting to know the patient and family and what their wishes are, what their goals of their treatment, what are they attainable goals, and what we need to do to get them there.
And it sounds like you don't have to be terminal to be on palliative care.
Of course not.
So this could be implemented on a horrible car accident.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Correct.
Or run over by a tractor or something like that.
Patients with severe illnesses too, a lot in the ICU where they're just trying to figure out, okay, we're at that point where we don't know what to do. Do we do a tracheostomy and a feeding tube and put them in a nursing home, or are they going to pass away without this life support? So it's just understanding and getting families to understand where we are and what we can do for them.
But people all the time come out of palliative care.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. And patients do better with, all the treatments, and then we say, okay, well, all of our goals were met. We have a plan. They don't really need us anymore, but we helped them through that difficult phase.
Mm-hmm. And how long has the program been happening at Henry Mayo?
We started the program in May of 2012, so just about 4 years.
And people need to know more about this because I don't think people, like I said at the top of the show, not only didn't know what the term meant, but that it's right there at Henry Mayo. So, I mean, I guess I'm glad you're on the show, but I mean, there almost needs to be a marketing campaign for the palliative care benefits over there.
Right.
I think it's around across the United States. It's been a new change. It's been a change of thought and a lot of education. Most of it is just lack of education. The doctor's not even knowing how to use us sometimes, and the family's not using. But we do have people that come in and say, "Hey, do you guys have a palliative care department? I read about that. I heard about that." So
Nice.
It's coming more and more common. Lisa could probably tell you how many patients did we have 4 years ago as opposed to now.
When we started, we saw about 200, and we hit 600 in the last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we've grown tremendously. Also, we are now Joint Commission certified, which we're pretty proud of. We are only the 5th in the state of California.
What does that mean?
That means that we meet all of the national standards for what would be expected of a palliative care team.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming Medicare, Medi-Cal, all the other insurances, they cover this as any other treatment form?
Actually, in the hospital setting, the hospital has committed the money for the resources of our staff, and we see the patients and they're not billed for it.
Really?
If there's a palliative care physician involved, he then can bill, and Medicare and insurance will cover it. But for our team in the hospital, it's not a cost to the patients.
Oh, that's awesome.
When they are discharged from the hospital, it's usually covered by Medicare and insurance through the home health.
And how do you guys follow them home? Is it just by phone? Do you have visiting nurses? I mean, how do you follow someone back home after discharge?
Well, during their stay, we try to meet with them. We have a lot of family conferences, meet with the families, kind of develop a discharge plan from day one, kind of what the plan is going to be, work with case management and stuff and where they're going to go. And then we also do a follow-up call a couple days to a week later to see how they're doing, make sure they got their home health or whatever resources they need. Oftentimes, we have patients that feel really comfortable with us, don't know who else to call, and if they're having pain or symptoms at home, will call us and ask us what our recommendations are. Should they come to the hospital? Should they call their hospice nurse? So I think our goal is to coordinate that care, so there's kind of a seamless continuity of care when they do leave, to just set them up with the appropriate resources.
Wow. Well, when we come back, I noticed you mentioned it at the break, POLST and Advanced Healthcare Directive.
That's a big one.
When we come back from the break, we're going to have you address that, and then we'll be segueing over to Lori and Miss Nicole for the Seroptimist and the fashion show coming up. So don't go away, folks. We're going to put a bow around the palliative care topic and segue to our ladies of Santa Clarita, the Seroptimists. So you are listening to Aging with Power on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Welcome back. You're listening to Aging with Power on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. We are talking with Lisa and Jennifer from the palliative care program at Henry Mayo Newhall Hospital. And a lot of important information, the fact that it's not a death sentence, that they help you through with the resources and the support. And people graduate from palliative care. They get better. They move on. So it's a lot of important stuff. But we mentioned right before the break, which, again, I think I talk about it probably on every other show because it's so important and people don't get it, even for their 18-year-old children. But an Advanced Healthcare Directive or a POLST?
Go ahead. Advanced healthcare directives, pretty much anybody over the age of 19 should really have one. Yes, I think a lot of people do talk about it around the dinner table at Christmas time, if I die, what I want. But when it comes down to it, things that aren't on paper don't get followed sometimes. I think it's a really big gift that you can give your loved ones to have one of these forms filled out. What it does is the most important part is it appoints somebody to speak for you when you can't. And that's the only time it really comes into play. You're in charge of your health care until you can't be anymore.
But let me just interject. You're still in charge of your health care when you can't speak because you've
already
written it all down.
Exactly.
So it takes the guilt away from the family or member of the loved one
yes.
because they're just following your orders.
Mm-hmm. Right. We even have patients that you would assume that it's your spouse, and if you don't have anything on paper, it's the next of kin. But some people think, you know what, my wife's not going to be able to make these decisions at that time. I want my daughter to, or I want my pastor to, or my neighbor. But unless it's on paper, we don't know who would make those decisions for you. And you've obviously spoke with that person. They know your wishes. They know what you would want out of your life and how how you would want to proceed, and having it on paper it's an easy thing to do. I think people think it's a big legal overwhelming piece of paper, and it's not. It's a couple pages long. It has a couple of things about what you would want, if you're in the hospital, and choices you'd want to make, who makes them, and you can either have it notarized, or you can have two people that are not related to you, neighbor, friends, witness with you, and it's valid and it's legal. So it's not as overwhelming and scary as people think it is.
And it could be as short or as long as you want it to be. I mean,
Correct.
you could put in any hypothetical situation that you can think of.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If this happens, this is what I want done type thing. So what's the difference between that and a PULST?
The PULSE form is actually a tool that supplements an advance directive. It is signed by the patient and the physician, and so therefore it's a valid physician order. So PULSE actually stands for Physician Order for Life-Sustaining Treatment, meaning any healthcare provider is mandated and can follow the PULSE as a physician order. So you have it at home, you've signed it, your doctor signed it, the EMS or the ambulance gets there, they find the PULSE, and they are able to follow the wishes on the PULSE because it's signed by the physician. So they can honor it, take you to the hospital. If you don't want to be taken to the hospital, they'll provide as much comfort in your home as possible. So it's really in addition to the advance directive.
Right. And then how's this new law affecting you guys as far as the right to die law? Have you guys really had been faced with that yet, or is it all still kind of too new?
It's too new. We're facing it in planning for how we would deal with it in the hospital setting. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Throughout the states that have it, who's used it, how often they use it. So within the hospital setting, we still have to define what that would mean and look like to us.
Right.
We have had patients ask about it, and it's something that needs to be patient initiated. It can't be offered.
Right.
So, like Lisa was saying, we will have, there's been said that several patients, thousands of patients may have this, get the prescription for this medication and never use it. Just knowing that they have that option gives them just some empowerment and just comfort knowing that they have that option if they need it. But that will take hours on another show to go over all of that.
Exactly. And you mentioned a caregiver support group.
Yes.
Yes, so we do have a caregiver support group. It's offered monthly, the second Wednesday of every month from 2 to 3:30. And we just encourage anyone who is a caregiver for someone who has a serious illness, to take the time and come meet with us and other people that are dealing with the same issues that you might be having at home. You're not alone. It is very difficult to care for people with, healthcare needs who are dependent on you for their activities of daily living and how they get around. So it's helpful to meet other people in your situation, and then we do have social work and nursing who attend to provide education.
And if anyone had any more questions, wanted to get a hold of you guys for more information, how would they get a hold of you guys?
You can reach us 7 days a week at Henry Mayo. Our phone number is 661-200-2867.
And just here we have a website that also has palliative care information on it.
We do on henrymayo.com, the website, and you can go to services and palliative care is there. We also have a short little YouTube video that really breaks it down into common language what palliative care is and how the team can help you.
And again, folks, I can't stress enough, get that advanced healthcare directive or a PULSE in place. I mean, you guys probably see that so much, it just breaks. And again, I was saying, the age of 18, because, parents think, they're my 19, 20-year-old kid. They're my kid. What doctors won't listen to if you don't have an advanced healthcare directive for your child. So, guys, look into that. Well, guys, I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much.
Great program over there. And again, folks, 661-200-2867. But if you've missed any part of the show, you can always go to the podcast at hometownstation.com and replay it. Share this information with friends and family. It's forever in the archives. But Jennifer, Lisa, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So we're going to go away for a little bit again, come back. But when we do, it's the Lisa and Nicole Hour. And we're going to be talking about the Seroptimist, a great organization here in town, and their upcoming fundraiser, the annual fashion show. So don't go away. We will be right back. You are listening to Aging with Power on your hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS.